That going. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Pacific Game Calls. I am locally famous Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver. How are you doing today, Andy?
I am doing well.
Did you have a good weekend?
It's busy.
A busy weekend.
Whew. You know that.
You had a hot date on Friday night.
I did.
We got to have 2 grandkids in our room.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Them boys are a lot of work.
Only when they lose their sock at 4 in the morning.
I never have understood why kids wearing socks to bed anyways, but I guess it is.
Because he doesn't use covers.
He doesn't do that. They both kicked the fucking covers off. I froze. My fat ass froze. Okay, on the Zoom with us today, or Skype, the world famous. And I'm not talking about Trevor Austin either.
Uh-oh.
I'm talking about from Moses Lake, Washington, Austin Sandmann with Honkstomper Guide Service. How are you doing, Austin? I said Honkstomper. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can. So what's the nickname that you gave Trevor Austin?
Oh, so back here, in Washington, we all call him Fresh. Because he's like the ring off Lord of the Rings. He's kind of like Smeagol. Everyone wants him. Everyone wants to be around him all the time. Trevor Austin,
Uh-oh.
Hang on, you're breaking up a little
Your
bit.
phone's cutting out.
Say that again. He's like Precious from Lord of the Rings.
Precious off Lord of the Rings. Yeah, everyone just wants him. Everyone wants to be around him all the time. It's pretty awesome.
So if him and Andy got together, it would be a festival of the two with the biggest heads in the group. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, Trevor's pretty humble, though.
Oh, Andy's not. Yeah.
I'm fucking humble.
You're not humble at all, Andy.
What in the... Is this just attack fucking Andy today?
Hey, do you know anyone else that goes around claiming to be world famous? Do you, Austin?
I mean, I could name one other guy, but I won't name him.
LeBron James.
There you go.
There you go, Andy. and I think he's a worthless fucker, so there you go. You and LeBron. I like you, though.
Y'all are some vicious fuckers today. Poor Jesus.
Don't bring Jesus up in
Well,
this.
I've done nothing to deserve this, Jeff.
So, you live in what I think is probably the best waterfowl hunting in North America. Well, other than Canada. But in the United States, I think Washington State is probably the best waterfowl hunting in the state. But it doesn't get a lot of notoriety like a lot of places do.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think we are very unique up here. If guys have never traveled up here before, it's hard to put it into perspective, especially with social media nowadays and kind of the way all these companies are marketing now. It's really catered more towards the silhouette game and the sock game and the huge spreads and laying out in the decoys. And I mean, I'm cool with all that, but I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, that's not what we do up here most of the time. I mean, we do that occasionally when the weather's right or when we have a big push of snows come in with some lessers and we think we can get away with it. But, the hunting up here is very different. These birds, we can only hunt 3 days a week in this area, which is pretty uncommon. And we have pretty liberal limits here, 7 ducks and 4 geese, 4 dart geese, which just Canada's. You can shoot 6 snows and we can actually kill 10 speckled bellies. But if a guy killed 10 speckled bellies in 1 year out here, that'd be a good year. So I don't really understand that thinking, but it's cool to have it just in case we needed it.
Why is there such a big limit of speckled bellies? Because everybody that we've talked to says like they don't see them up there. So why 10?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, this is all new within the last 3 years. I don't know if they just don't want those birds over here just because we've got some, different different species of geese in this area that really aren't in other areas of the U.S., like a dusky. And so I don't know if maybe they're worried that these other geese are going to encroach on, some of these birds' habitats. I'm not really sure. Recently we couldn't even kill a snow goose, didn't even have a separate limit over here up until about 3 years ago. We shot, it was 4 geese. It didn't matter if it was a snow or a speck or a Canada. It was 4 geese, and that was our limit. And so now, we've got 6 snows and 4 Canadas, which is cool, but it kind of sucks when you're guiding because clients automatically assume that, like, oh, hey, we can shoot 10 geese today a person. It's like, that just doesn't happen all the time. Like, I think I've only shot double limits, meaning like Canadas and snows, maybe 2 or 3 times in my whole career up here, just because they're fairly new. We've not had snow geese here up until about 5 years ago. So it's very diverse. The water around here, there's a lot of public water, but when we talk about river hunting out here, it's real rivers. I mean, like, you've probably seen the Columbia, so you know what it looks like, but other people, I traveled back to Colorado and back to the Midwest, and they're talking, oh, we're going to go hunt the, Lower Platte or whatever. And I'm like, this is a freaking creek, dude. This ain't a river. This is a creek. But, you go on the Columbia, man, you're in a 22-foot jet sled with life vests on. Mm-hmm. You have to have a Coast Guard license. I mean, it's like hunting the Great Lakes type stuff. I mean, you'll sink a boat out there, no problem. So it's interesting, to say the least.
I've always the only time I've ever been to the Columbia is when I crossed going from Moses Lake back towards Seattle, and that some bitch is a half mile to a mile wide, and I don't know how deep it is. It has to be very, very deep. It looks like a very dangerous place to do any kind of waterfowl hunting.
It definitely can be. It can also be the most beautiful, best, diverse bag limit that you're going to find. Hunting down there on the big river, you're going to kill divers, you're going to kill puddle ducks, and you're going to kill geese. And so that's very unique to Washington State. I mean, I don't know very many other areas where you can shoot a canvasback, and then the very next flock you're dumping mallards and Canadas. And, having a wood duck come through. I mean, literally there is just unlimited opportunities out here. And it's really amazing to me that no one talks about it, hardly ever, because there's a lot of opportunity out here, not necessarily for freelancing, but if you're a guy that wants to come out and go on a guided hunt and see some really cool stuff, then this is a good state to come check out.
So why do these guys assume that they're going to be able to shoot snows and Canadas? Why would they think that they can double up limits? Because
literally just,
we don't do that.
Well, it's literally just as simple as, like, because now there's a limit for it,
mm-hmm.
and they think that we're gonna just have a stellar day if there's no geese in the area. I mean, I guess it's just we've been too nice of a guide service, I charge different rates for ducks versus geese, kind of like every other outfitter does, but I'm always the type of guy that, like, if it's a slow goose hunt and we got mallards working, I'm probably going to let my guys shoot just because I want that returning business, right? Like, I don't want to send them home when they're like, we had 10,000 mallards coming in, but it was a goose hunt and he wouldn't let us shoot. I don't know. Maybe we've just been a little too nice to our guys, but I think it's just simply because the regs say they can shoot them, so they expect to go out and shoot them.
Right.
So,
and
that's honest. I think it is.
Because I mean, we've not ran into that, but we get more and more snow geese here every year, it seems like. And I mean, none of our guys really expect. I don't know, but I'm not a snow goose hunter, so I'm kind of that way when I talk to my clients. I'm like, yeah, they're here, but if we shoot a dozen, it'll be a good day.
Yeah.
So, like, if you have success shooting snow geese, then maybe they just expect it because you're a better snow goose hunter than me.
I think it's just social media, man. I mean, you post one good picture, on Instagram of a day that you had a banger and you shot 40 snows and 20 Canadas, and then, every group sees that and thinks that that's the standard. That's honestly why I try to post sometimes not limit pics. Mm-hmm. Or if I'm having a hard day, I will straight up post a live video being like, hey, this is a struggle to talk about. Because everyone sees the pile picks, they all see the limits, and they think that's what it's supposed to be. I mean, you guys can relate 100% to that. They want limits, and I want limits too, but, it's just not reality sometimes, especially dealing with wild birds and different conditions. And a year like this year was a great goose year for us. I had a good duck year. but really out here, there's only a couple of guys for me that want to duck hunt. I know Trevor talked to you guys and kind of explained that you'll never find him out duck hunting, guiding clients unless it's in a field. That's just his style. He doesn't really like getting in boats, and he's kind of scared of the water. So uh, some of us have to man up and put on our big boy pants and go out there and still get it done. So
He is precious.
He's precious, man. You know,
One of the
he's
one of the things that I think that makes y'all's area so unique is, and an advantage y'all have, is that you're going to have birds because you're so fucking far north, where you don't rely on his weather as much, I wouldn't think, as people like we do. You're at the top of the flyway, and I'm assuming that come October, November, you've got birds regardless of what the weather is. Am I right on that, or am I wrong?
Yeah, you know, honestly, we have dove season starts September 1, okay, and we get a crap load of mourning doves through here. Like we will shoot 50 limits in one day, and the limit's 15 per person up here. So we'll whack them, you know, and we'll guide dove hunts. And then I think it's the second or third weekend of September, we have an early goose hunt, and we'll have geese here. Not just locals, but there will be specks moving in. That's when our specks are here, is in September. And unfortunately, we can't hunt them. But I mean, you'll see 10,000 specks move through, and they're here for 2-3 days tops, and then they're gone. And then the Canadas start showing up probably the second weekend of October. I mean, up north where we hunt, kind of just south of the Grand Coulee Dam, if you were to look at a map, there's a big plateau of all just dryland wheat fields. And right where the circles kind of meet the dryland is where we start our journey. And that's good from beginning of October all the way till the end, honestly, because we are pretty far north. But the cool thing about this river basin is that up north in the mountains and stuff, it'll be cold and freezing, but down here in the basin, it'll be 55 and sunny, and the water's wide open. And so once these birds hit this area, they tend to not really leave unless they absolutely have to. And we just have not been seeing the weather like we used to. I mean, I can remember 5-6 years ago, we had 4 feet of snow, and it was negative 25 with wind chill. And I mean, that year was really tough for me up north, but the further you went south towards the Columbia River, the better it got. So, yeah, we get a lot of birds that hang around, and it's good all year long. I mean, and we just have really good weather. And with the whole Columbia Basin irrigation project and the diverse crops that we have, it's really made for ideal waterfowl. And I mean, there's reservoirs everywhere. There's lakes everywhere. You've got creeks and hot springs. And, you know, honestly, there's a lot of man-made duck hunting out here, especially you get down south of Moses Lake towards Tri-Cities and Othello. I mean, you've got guys like Eagle Lakes Guide Service, Eagle Lakes Lodge. I mean, they are, I would say, the biggest waterfowl guide service on the West Coast right now as far as running straight numbers through. And they've got some phenomenal stuff going on there. And there's a couple other guys down here. You know, Bill Saunders is another guy that's been down here forever doing it. And, you know, he hunts a very unique area surrounded by refuges, and he's got 2 different bodies of water right there. And so, you know, it's just a very cool area. But yeah, we just have the right weather. We've got the right crops, and the Pacific Flyway is getting stronger. You know, we're seeing birds come from the Central Flyway, especially snow geese. And I think as it keeps progressing, we're just going to get better out here, honestly.
So do you remember, how long have you been waterfowl hunting? You started as a kid?
Yeah, I got my license when I was 8, and I'm almost 29. So yeah, you know, quite a while.
20 years. So have you so you've noticed it, the waterfowl hunting out there getting stronger and stronger every year?
Oh yeah, definitely. So it's kind of funny that you mentioned that. You know, back in the 80s and 90s here, sugar beets were a huge crop, and no one gave a shit about ducks and geese, plain and simple. I mean, except for the old timers that, you know, were the guys that were out here calling all the time. They were making their own decoys. There was guys like that on potholes and stuff like that, but everyone cared about pheasants out here. And so for the, you know, 70s, 80s, and the first part of 90s, it was all about pheasants. But once the sugar beet crop kind of died out, duck and goose hunting kind of came to be, and it was always good. But as the farming's progressed and the waters became more available and we've got more reservoirs here, it's just catered more to waterfowl hunting. And so that's kind of what it's been. It's always been good, but it's just continually getting better. And especially now you have companies like Ducks Unlimited, and I'll be honest with you guys, like I support Ducks Unlimited, but I've never really seen like much from them locally. like it seems like they do a lot of stuff, but not here.
That's the way it is
So
here.
It's been nice to see them kind of starting to do stuff, and more people in the private sector here. Like I said, these guys that are making these ponds and know how to manage these ponds, that's ultimately what's leading up to like these really good numbers. And then we're getting a lot of birds that are staying on the reverse migration because we have so much food and so much water. There's just a lot of birds that end up becoming local birds.
I think that you hit on something when you said when they took out the sugar beets. See, that's the problem.
Yep.
I think that Louisiana is dealing with, and they don't talk about it much.
Sugar
but
cane in
they got,
Louisiana.
well, I understand you didn't let me finish. World famous, they have sugar cane there, and they've taken away a lot of their food sources out. But over the last 50 to 100 years, we've seen different areas change their farming practices, and birds are adaptive, and so the birds that didn't stay in your area aren't going somewhere that they used to go to. Those people are like, where the fuck did our birds go to from 20 years ago? Well, in Washington State, they quit farming sugar beets, and they start putting wheat in, I guess, or barley or whatever it is. Corn.
We got a lot of corn,
of corn, and that's where the birds are at now. And that's what the people in Louisiana, the southern Louisiana, their problem is they've taken away a lot of their food. They got all the water still, but a duck's got to eat too.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they are just spreading out more and going to these places that they weren't there 20 years ago.
Well, I mean, you talk to old timers around here, and there's a reservoir. Lake Coeur d'Alene is over in Idaho.
Pretty place.
All right, and that's right on the Idaho-Washington border. Well, you talk to guys that say back in the 90s and in the 80s, that's where all the mallards would be. Mm-hmm. Well, they were farming a lot more barley and grain over there at that time, but now they've abolished there was this Saltese Flats and all these weird spots over there. Well, now they've built houses there, right? Mm-hmm. So these ducks don't have anywhere to stay. So I've killed 2 banded mallards in the last 2 years, all the way from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and Moses Lake. And so those ducks are traveling east and west, flying I-90. I mean, you see them. You'll be driving the freeway heading east, and there's ducks coming from the east heading west to Moses Lake.
That's crazy.
So these birds have adjusted their flight paths, and they're no longer just going north and south. Mm-hmm. They're flying east and west. There was a study done up here in Washington State back in the 2000s, like the early 2000s, I think. And it was also with Canada, with British Columbia, and you can go find it online, but they collared and radio transmitted a bunch of lessers up in Alaska, I believe. And they came down the coast, and they got to the Cascade Mountains kind of by Linden, Mount Vernon area, Washington, up above Seattle. And they split the Cascades, and half of them came down here to Moses Lake area, and they all ended up in Tri-Cities at one time, and the other ones went down and ended up in the Oregon coast. Well, what was interesting was when they made the reverse migration going back up, there was a 900-acre piece of ground in British Columbia that was being farmed, and at one time, all 30 net callers and radio transmitters were in the same spot in February. So it's cool to see those migrations and see kind of what these birds are doing. But yeah, Moses Lake, man, people don't understand really the significance of the agriculture here. I mean, Washington State is number 2 behind California, and we're kicking the crap out of yields out here. But that also means we have less food in our fields, like you were talking about, the birds wanting to feed, right? So I was talking with some of my growers the other day that I leased their property. You'll hear guys out here call farmers growers.
Yeah, not weed.
No.
Maybe a little bit of
I'm
that
sure
too.
Some of them are doing that too. I mean, that's legal out here, but the corn has just kind of taken over out here, the potatoes, and then when we get done with potatoes, it goes right into wheat normally. So by the fall, it's newly seeded wheat coming up, and the geese like that, and the ducks will get in that too. And there is a lot of wheat production out here as well, but it's really just about having running water all the time and having a lot of food. So some of my farmers, I've been trying to get them to hey, can you bust out the old combine this year, maybe try to not do as good of a job, just because I've seen it personally. The geese are there one day and they eat what's there, and then they're gone. And, some outfitters don't even understand that. And some regular hunters don't get that. I mean, there's local guys around here that maybe have 3 fields, and they're the 3 fields that none of us guides can get. And they'll sit on that thing for 2 weeks and let these geese just destroy it. And then they'll go out there and shoot it one day, and then the birds never come back all year, and they wonder why. And it's well, you just let them eat it all, and then you guys went out there and shot 50, and why would they come back now?
Right.
So,
yeah, that's interesting it's an interesting thing that we've run across that a couple times out here. Not very often, but you're just like, fuck it, let them set. They'll be gone in 2 weeks. Like, you can either let us hunt it and make a little bit of money, or fuck it. You can let them set for 2 weeks, and then when your next group of clients come in, you can hunt it, and then you'll be done.
I had a farmer in Oklahoma tell me one time, he said, you know what? I hope they eat every fucking bit of it. That way I ain't got to combine any of it. I thought, well, why the fuck did you plant it then? You know, it's the dumbest thing I ever had anybody say. Instead of just saying, I don't want no one hunting on my property or whatever. But, I mean, they'd eaten, it was a 300-acre wheat field, and they'd eaten 150 acres of it down to nothing. But that was his answer is, well, fuck, I hope they eat it all so I don't have to combine it. I thought, okay, whatever, dumbass.
Well, you probably get more money from the insurance agent out in Oklahoma, dude, because it's not known for being massive yielding producing areas, which is kind of like some spots out here, the farmers kind of just hope for bad years, so they get a lot of money for insurance. Because it's going to pay them more to not harvest the crop than it would for them to harvest it. By the time you take into account the diesel and the labor and all that stuff, I mean, sometimes it's cheaper to just claim insurance. And unfortunately, that's kind of a trend that you see happening in some areas like that. But that would be my guess as to why that guy was doing that. So
there's a weird clicking noise that I hear. Is there something clicking in your car, or maybe it's on my end?
Not that I can hear.
Okay. So you guys are really number 2 as far as yield?
As far as like crop diversity and production, we are number 2 in the nation behind California.
Where's Texas on this list? We don't like losing to anybody.
We're dry land.
Texas is probably number 3.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, fuck.
And I'm talking just pure diversity, right? Like sheer number of crops that you can grow in one state. It goes California, then Washington, and then I'm guessing Texas is probably right there close.
I'm kind of surprised we're up that way because it's so. Our best farmland is probably on the Texas coast, if I was guessing. But we're not far enough north to have a lot of.
Now hold on, does marijuana count?
Yeah, sure.
Motherfucker, that's where y'all are getting us. That's it right there.
Sure.
Come on, Texas.
I mean, there's quite a few potatoes being produced in Texas. I mean, Frito-Lay is in Texas, is it not?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, I know there's a lot of acres down there under center pivot irrigation. I'm not sure what area per se, but there is acres down there that are being irrigated. I think it's more, it has to do with the soil.
Yeah.
And up here we have the best soil, honestly.
Yeah. The farther north you go, the farming's better. Plus, we grow fucking cotton everywhere down here.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
And we're not. Nobody likes cotton.
So let me ask you this about the marijuana. When did it become legal there?
Whew, man, I think I was like a freshman in college. So I want to say it was like 2011, maybe.
Is it a problem? Is it a terrible for state? Because I assume Texas is going to go legal here pretty soon. I think they
probably 2048.
Oh, that long, huh?
We can't even pass gambling here. I don't think the conservatives will ever let it happen.
Are there zombies everywhere? I mean, how bad is it up there, really?
As far as like people being high all the time?
Well, not just that, but I mean crime, and let's look at everything put together. Crime, let's look at DWIs, let's look at everything.
More people here get arrested for drunk driving and doing heroin and meth than anything else. I mean, this is a farming area, man, and you have the interstate coming right through here. Mm-hmm. Okay, so literally the drugs that come through this area, it's incredible. I'm talking the cartels here. That's a real thing. I mean, you guys deal with it in Texas. It comes directly here too. We have orchards up here. We have all of this work up here is H-2A migrant workers. Mm-hmm. The majority of farm labor is migrant workers. I mean, but the deal is up here, we're offering $16 an hour with housing and transportation to and from your job, and we still can't get people to freaking work.
Well, not right now. They're getting $1,800 to keep their ass at home.
Oh, right. I know. And I mean, it's insane to me. But yeah, the crime here, it's real. I mean, there's gruesome crime here. There's a lot of shootings here, and the majority of them have to do with gangs and have to do with kind of the immigration crisis, and it's a real thing. So as far as weed goes, like no one gives a shit about marijuana up here.
Right.
And my personal opinion on it, I could care less. Mm-hmm. I'm totally for it, dude, because there's a lot of medical benefits that have came out of marijuana. And I've personally seen friends of mine that used to drink and were literally probably going to drink themselves to death have saved their own life because they've switched to pot. And now I know people, there's a flip side, right? Well, why do you need to do anything? Like, well, what the fuck? Why do we hunt? It's the adrenaline rush, right? I mean, I can understand it. Mm-hmm. And it's like anything else. People have addictive personalities and addictive traits. I think I'd rather have someone smoking weed working for me than someone freaking getting wasted every night, and I can't rely on them to show up in the morning because they're hungover, or they reek of alcohol, or they get pulled over with clients and they're still drunk and they get a DUI. I mean, dude, these are all real things that could happen up here. Especially, I mean, let's be real, we're all guides. There's been several nights where I've went out with our guides on a Friday night with our clients. We get hammered. Mm-hmm. We got to be out at the field at 4:30, and we don't leave the bar till 2:30. You know. And yeah, it's a cool group of clients, but that's not professional with every group, nor is it safe. And I'm not condoning it, saying that like it's a great thing, but that's a real thing that happens.
It happens.
You know? And back in my younger days, I maybe didn't give a shit. But now, even with waivers of liability, even with the proper insurance, even with covering all of our asses, we could still potentially get sued for something stupid. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, you try to build these relationships with your clients, but more so you try to build relationships with your guides, and make sure, you know, hey, because I can't be on every hunt, right? I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't do much of the guiding anymore. You know, I've got Trevor Austin, I've got Trevor Bennett that comes up and guides for me too, and then I've got a couple local guys, Ashton Payne and Cody Vanderway. And so when those guys are available, that's who's working. And if I got to supplement and fill in, I do. But I'm more of scouting. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing around here. And that's one thing that no one wants to do that guides. No one wants to fucking scout, man. You know how hard it is to find people to fucking scout? And for me, I don't want to pay some fucking high school kid. Like, I want someone that knows what they're doing, and I want someone that I can trust. Because the scout has to call the farmers. They've got to fucking work the deals out. That's the most important part of the fucking deal. Mm-hmm. And so you got to be careful who you let know what's going on. I don't know how it is where you guys are, but up here, people are pretty hush-hush about what we're paying, about what we're doing. I mean, I always tell everyone that I lease everything for fucking $5,000 per farm, and that's not the case. But, you know, I don't want people coming up in here, because ultimately that's what it's come down to, is who's got the most money, mm-hmm. which sucks to say. That's why I got into guiding. I'd go knock on my neighbors' doors, and they used to let me hunt growing up my whole life. And then in like 2006, it was like, oh, well, we leased it to this guide service. And I'm like, what the hell? And then I went and watched these guys, and I thought, man, I can do just as good as that. So I started researching it in high school, started working for an outfitter called North Flight Waterfowl, and they're still around in Moses Lake. Great guys, Ben Holt and Shane Moon. If you ever get a chance to talk to those guys, they're super cool. They got a lot of knowledge. I believe actually Ben was one of the pioneers of stuffed goose decoys out in our area. He was kind of one of the first guys to ever really run a full spread of stuffers. So kind of cool just to grow up and learn from those guys. And Shane would go down to Texas back when it wasn't cool. All right. So like, he was going down to Texas before all these other idiots were going down to Texas. Right. And so, I mean, I can only imagine how it feels for you guys, just because from what I see from the outside looking in, like, I mean, I've got a guy that works for me that goes down to Texas and works for an outfitter in Texas. And I mean, I think it's cool, but at the same time, I think it's bullshit. Not necessarily him doing that, but like people that aren't from the area going down there and starting up their own outfitter service. I'll be honest, that shit pisses me off. And it pisses me off here too, because you get guys coming over from Western Washington that have no connections out here. And they'll just go around freaking throwing thousands and thousands of dollars in farmers' faces just for one hunt. And then after it's done one time, they'll never take anything less than that ever again. Right. So it fucking ruins it for everyone. And then the worst is you get these guys that say they're guides, okay? Because they got a fucking trailer and they got 3 fucking fields and they put a Craigslist ad out and they get a little bit of business. Well, those motherfuckers are undercutting all of us, and they're not doing it right. And they're taking straight cash under the table, and they're not paying taxes. And it fucking pisses me off, because here I am. I just got audited by the fucking IRS like 4 years ago. A guide service, dude, for my truck mileage of all things. And I pay fucking taxes on all that shit. And everyone else can just go around, you know, doing it illegal. I don't know, man. It just fucking, that shit irritates me. And up here, it's not as regulated. Like, when a game warden comes out, it's not like me as an outfitter. I don't have to present like an outfitter license or anything like that. You just have to have a business license, and you have to be insured, and you have to make sure you're on the right property, basically, and not trespassing. And you can, conduct business as you want. It's the Department of Labor and Industries here that regulates all of the revenue and the cash and everything like that.
Hey,
so there's a lot of it's like the Wild West.
Guess what? That's more regulations than we have in Texas.
We don't even have to have a business.
You don't have
license.
to have nothing in Texas.
Wow.
We need. In one way, I want to. In one side of my mouth wants to say this: we need some kind of outfitter's license in Texas. But in the other side, I don't want the fucking government to get in the middle of anything because they fuck up everything.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I'm for less government, but like I'm saying, the only thing that's nice is when you do something like that where everyone has to have a license, it weeds out all these wannabes, man. Mm-hmm. And all these people that are going to freaking steal one group of clients for one day, and then, they're going to ruin those guys because they're never going to want to go with a guide again. I mean, you probably have an idea. I hear from a lot of clients all the time, like, oh, I went with this guide service. And I'm like, that's not even a guide service. They're like, it was the worst hunt we've ever had. I'm like, yeah, that's not a real outfitter. You guys didn't go with a legit guy.
I've been doing this 30 years. I was the only person in areas that we hunt. I'm the only one that's still around from 30 years ago. I mean, wow. That's it. There's nobody else doing anything, same thing we're doing after 30 years. And so I've seen it. I've seen every bit of it. And it's going to continue. It's gotten worse. The internet's changed all that. I mean, in West Texas, Amarillo to Lubbock to Knox City, when I got in business, there was maybe 4 outfitters in that whole area. I bet the city of Lubbock now has 50 different outfitters running within 70 miles of there. And they're hunting on the same property. They're fighting over the same thing. But that's that way everywhere. Northeast Oklahoma is just covered up now. Kansas is getting covered up. Y'all are up there. 30 years ago when I first started, if you looked in a Ducks Unlimited magazine in the back and it said guides, they used to have I hadn't seen a Ducks Unlimited magazine in years. This dickhead Steve Barber is a big Ducks Unlimited guy. He don't ever bring me a magazine. But I used to love their pictures.
Do they even make a magazine anymore?
Yeah, they have a magazine. Still? And in the back, they used to have outfitters. And there was probably 20 outfitters back in the day. And it was guys on the East Coast. There was a guy in Maryland. Because I used to look at them all the time. But I'll bet if you go look in there now, I bet it's none of the same old guys are still in there. But they're so expensive, I don't even know if people advertise in there anymore. But it's what you're saying is the same shit that's happening everywhere in the United States, every outfitter. And you've got legit complaints about everything you've said. But it's America and it's capitalism and it's free and there ain't nothing we can do about it. My biggest advice is to season lease a bunch of land.
And that's what we do.
Yep.
It makes our area more unique.
That's what makes our area so unique is it's tough to get in. I mean,
everything's season leased.
It's the same thing here.
There's only 1 or 2 farmers that do much day leasing that don't season lease everything out.
And they're going to give it to all of us first.
Yeah, and like if somebody were to knock on the door and say, "Hey, can I hunt it?" the farmer would call one of the outfitters first. So it's tough. I remember this. We've made this area a little bit more popular because we didn't see this before we started the podcast. But I was scouting a field last year, and I got a call from Josh. And he said, "Hey, there's some kids on the west side of this field, County Road." And I'm like, "Oh, whatever, fine. There's no law against being on a county road looking at geese." And he's like, "Yeah, they got a dog box and everything." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I'll cruise by there." And anyway, geese were going somewhere else. I had to go to another field, and I got a call about 20 minutes later. He's like, "Hey, man, like they're still there, and they're sitting on top of their pickup with binoculars." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll swing by." So I went by, and I was like, "Hey, how's it going, guys?" "Oh, good, good, good." I was like, "Well, what are y'all doing?" Because I don't want to be a dick to somebody that's just looking at birds. Like you're not breaking any laws. You're a mile away from the field. You're not hurting anything. I don't want to be a dickhead. And I wasn't, I don't think. But I was like, "Hey, first thing I was going to play dumb and be like, 'Hey, is your car okay? Do you have a flat tire?' Because shit happens." I'm like, "Nah, man, we're just looking at geese. We're going to hunt that field in the morning." And I'm like, "Really?" And they're like, yeah, we got permission. And I'm like, "That's a season lease field of ours, and we're hunting it tomorrow." So I'm like, "Who gave y'all permission?" Like, "Oh, well, we were knocking on doors, and they said this person owned it, and we told them where it was." And I'm like, "Well, it's not him, bud. And I took him to the field that they had permission on, and there wasn't a fucking goose in like 6 miles of it. And they're like, oh, man, are there ever any birds in here? I'm like, yeah, but it ain't going to be tomorrow, bud. So that's it. That's really the only time.
And didn't the guy ask you, how'd you get on it?
Yeah, he said, how did y'all get on it? I'm like, well, it's
we've leased it for 30 years.
We've leased it forever, bud. Like, that's how. So in that regard, we're pretty lucky out here that everything's season leased. But that's the one time that somebody's like, I'm glad I stopped, though, because that would have been a train wreck.
No, it would have been for them in the morning.
Well, I know that, but it doesn't matter if you're in the right or in the wrong. If headlights pull into your field and somebody else is trying to hunt it, everybody looks like an asshole.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's funny you bring that up. That happens out here all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all the time. Like how you're saying you didn't want to stop and be a dick. I intentionally will stop every time by one of my fields. Every time. Because, dude, I've had bird watchers stop literally right next to the geese. All right? And I just ask them, like, hey, I know you guys are just watching birds. Can you at least go way the hell over there and look through your binoculars? Because I'm hunting this tomorrow, and you guys are going to scare all these birds out of this field. You know, and there's a right way and a wrong way to go about it. But like you're saying, like, I've literally, okay, so this happened to me last year on a field. Okay, the landlord, this is where it gets tricky out here, because 90% of the people that own the land over here aren't actually from here.
Right.
All right. They're just the landlords, and they lease their ground to the farmers. Well, it all depends on what the farming lease says on who gets to actually get permission to hunt.
It's that way
so
here too.
There's added element of shit here. You have to figure out, first of all, who do I have to talk to? Then you got to double check and make sure that it's the right person. Mm-hmm. And then you got to make sure that no one else has went around talking to the farmer if the farmer doesn't have permission to be giving. And so last year, this happened to me 2 times on the same field. And it was with another guide service. I rolled up. I was hunting a field right across the street the morning before, shot limits Canada's. It was a great hunt. They all went into this cornfield behind me. It was half harvested. And I went to high school with the guy. And I'm like, cool, I'll go over there, knock on the door. And it's just one of those farms I've offered to lease it. And he's always told me, hey, I'm not leasing it. You want to hunt it? I'll let you hunt it. You can pay me, but I'm not going to lease it. I just want to let whoever, whenever type deal. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I totally respect that. So I call this guy every time, right? Well, I noticed he's got a new combine in there. So that means it's someone else harvesting the corn now, not the same guy. So I don't think anything of it. I show up at the gas station the next morning to meet my clients, and there's about 6 outfitters in this area, right? So there's about 3 or 4 gas stations where everyone meets in Moses Lake. And so I just happened to be at the same one where this other outfitter's meeting his guys. I know him. Like, hey, what's up? You know, hey, how's it going? You know, I saw you out there yesterday in that hayfield. You guys slaughtered them. I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm going out to that area this morning as well. And I go, really? Where are you going? He goes, oh, I'm going to that half-cut cornfield. And I said, oh, really? I have permission for that. That's where I'm going. I got panel blinds in the back. We're going to set up in the standing corn and shoot the shit out of the honkers when they come in there.
Shit.
Oh, out there last night and put my eliminators out in the middle of the stubble. I already got my shit out there. I'm like, wow, well, who did you talk to? And he tells me the guy that's combining. I go, you understand that's not the guy that leases that field. You can't just freaking do that. And it was one of those deals where luckily birds went back into that hayfield that's right across the street where I hunted the day before. And I just go, sorry, bro, I'm going to shortstop your ass. Go have fun in the corn. So I went right to the freaking hay and shot the shit out of them. And I called the owner of that guide service and just explained to him, like, hey, I let you guys hunt there, but that's not how this works. And so needless to say, I got to hunt that field another time later on in the season. And then there was a third time when the geese were back in there because that combine had still never finished harvesting this field, dude. It had blown over. It was just a shit show. And so all the geese were in the half that were already harvested. And they're trying to walk into the blown over stuff. And so same deal. I'm out there scouting. Literally, as I'm scouting, this other outfitter drives by. So I just fucking whip around, go over, stop, talk to him. I'm like, let me guess, you fucking were going to go hunt this. He's like, yep. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm done with this shit. Go ahead. I'm done with it. I'm just done with it. I fucking call my buddy. I go, hey, this is what's going on. This guy got paid. You didn't see a single amount of this money. Apparently this other guide service leased it from another guy that has nothing to do with you. He's just harvesting your corn. So that guy owes you like $4,000, man. Have a nice day. I just fucking move on, you know? But that shit happens, dude. And there's 2 ways to go about it, right? You can be a dick or you can be nice about it. And I've honestly had really good luck being nice and joining up with people sometimes. Maybe not necessarily another guide service, but like weekend warrior hunters. Yeah. I've got clients now that became my clients because they thought they had permission for a field and they didn't. And, you know, what was 3 more bodies on top of 8 other guys? I had the blinds. Right. I had my shit. And it was just easier to team up than it was to fight each other. But I've also had days where I've had guys show up and the farmer did give us both permission. And it's just kind of one of those fuck scenarios. And those guys didn't want to hunt with us. So they went to the other side of the circle. And we fucking kicked their ass. And it sucked. And I felt kind of bad. But at the same time, Trevor Austin was there with me. And we had clients. And we tried to be professional about it. And they just said, fuck you guys. We're going to go over here. Screw you guides. That's exactly what they said. Screw you guides. And our clients looked at us and goes, fuck those assholes. Let's set rope right here. They were all about it, you know? And so it happens, man. But I just hate how cutthroat it's gotten. Mm-hmm. And it didn't used to be like that around here, man. Like all the guides, we all used to get together and talk. And it was kind of like a co-op almost. We would set prices and we'd say, hey, here's what we're all going to charge. All right. And here's what we're all going to pay for lease fees. And let's decide who's going to be in what areas. And we'd work together. And it's kind of started to come back like that now. But for a while there, it was not like that, dude. It was like, fuck him, you know, blah, blah, blah. Guys just trying to backdoor people. I mean, at one point, dude, I had a guide service hiring my guides, like literally telling them, hey, you don't want to work for him. Come work for us. We'll pay you more. Blah, 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 blah. Like, it was a war, dude.
Sounds like out here in the 90s.
Yeah, my best advice I could ever give anybody is to get along with your competition. It's easier to work together than it is against each other. Because all it does is cost you money and cause problems. Like, out here, we all get along, and we all know what everybody's doing the night before. Now, we're only dealing with 3 guide services around here.
But everybody's on the same page about what the day rate's going to be.
Everything, yeah, and we're all on the same page. Market value is what market value is, but we all get along. And I talk to everybody every day, and I know what they're doing, and they know what we're doing, and that way we don't have a problem. I mean, because we
is that hard to silence?
Yeah, I guess it is. And but that's my biggest thing. I'd say I don't care where you're hunting at. If you learn to get along with the guys around you, you don't have to be friends with them. I mean, we're all looking for the same customers, but man, nothing worse than in the morning if multiple groups showing up in the same field. And I've been on both ends of that deal. I've been on the end where we left just because I wasn't going to call a farmer at 4 o'clock in the freaking morning. And then I've been on the end where we're not leaving. We're here first. This is our place. The guy lives right there. If you want to go over and ask him why we're hunting over here, you go ahead. He sat there truck and told us we could hunt here tomorrow. And they went somewhere else. So, but most times I'm going to do my best to work together just because it's not a problem. We can sort it out later, but at 5:30 in the morning is not a good time to be getting into debate. And you hear about it all the time. And it's not the guide staffs as much or the guys with guides. It's the do-it-yourself guys that get in a lot of fights with each other. I see that shit all the time on Facebook, guys that get in fights at boat ramps and shit. And I'm thinking, God almighty.
Well, I mean, that's why we get more clients. I mean, you have no idea how many people come out here, and especially like this area, we have Mardon Reservoir, O'Sullivan Reservoir, the potholes is what people call it. And if you look up duck hunting in Eastern Washington, you will find the potholes. I mean, that is like the number one destination, the potholes. Everyone wants to fucking go out there. And I can't guide out there. I don't have a permit to guide on potholes. There's only 3 people that do. And it fucking cracks me up because there's actually 5 or 6 guide services guiding out there. But the fucking cracking down on it, dude. The game wardens have figured it out. And I mean, I was approached by a game warden last year asking me questions about another guide service. You know, asking me, they pull out photos. I'm hunting on Moses Lake, which is public. So it's not like not a state public deal. It's owned by the city, but it's out in the county. So you can hunt on that lake. And I'm coming out. I didn't even have clients. It's just me and my buddies. And we got done. We hammered the mallards. And we're pulling out of the boat launch. And the game warden stops. And I know him. You know, he knows who I am. Obviously, when you're out here, you get to know these guys. And I like to be on their good side. You know, sure. They're doing a job. Got a job to do. I don't care. You know, come out and do it. And let's continue on with our day. And so he stops me and he pulls me to the side and goes, hey, can I talk to you about something for a second? And I'm thinking, oh, fuck. Here. You know, what the fuck? I'm thinking like one of my guys did something,
Here's a squeeze.
I'm thinking something's fucked here because for the first 3 years of my guide service up here, I got harassed, dude. there was a game warden up here at that time that hated guides, and he harassed the shit out of me. And so I thought, like, here we go. Well, no, this guy just wanted to ask me, hey, do you recognize any of these guys in this picture? And I'm going, yeah, I know that guy. He's a guide. And he goes, yeah, you recognize the background? And I said, well, it looks like potholes to me. And then I kind of got to thinking, well, fuck, am I like helping out a sting operation here? Or what's going on? I just kind of started saying, like, hey, I don't want to be a rat here, you know? He's like, well, we're trying to get this guy for guiding on the potholes. He doesn't have a permit. And I'm like, well, all I can tell you is that's definitely him, but I don't know any of those clients, and I can't help you any further than that. But I mean, it's a real thing, man. And you know, the pictures, all the pictures, I went back and figured it out. They're all off the guy's Facebook page.
Sneaky criminal, isn't he?
Well, right, yeah. Why would you post that on your Facebook page, right? Knowing that you don't have a permit, knowing that you can't be out there. And the potholes has these really distinct willows, like these red fucking willows. Like you'll never see a willow like that anywhere else except for here. And the sand is black sand. Like it, I mean, it's like looking at a picture of your fucking house and going, yep, that's my house. I know that's my house. And so it's a real thing, dude. These, you know, the Facebook, social media, I fucking hate it. Like, I'll be the first to tell you guys, like, it's cool. Like, I like following you guys, and it's led me to, like, good connections, like getting connected with you guys, getting connected with Slade Northwest and Pacific Calls. And, you know, me and Trevor got connected long before social media. I mean, we got connected in college. And, you know, it's a double-edged sword, man. It's like watching your mother-in-law go off a cliff in a Cadillac, right? You got mixed. Like, it's freaking. It's one of those deals, dude. You want to post, right? Because you want to advertise and you want to show off what you got. But at the same time, I don't want everyone and their brother coming over here, you know, unless they're coming with us. You know, hey, hunt with me and let's go. But don't be coming out here trying to freaking door knock and do your thing, because that's what it seems to be happening, which is cool. I get it. We all got to start somewhere. But it's like, man, there's already so many outfitters. It's just freelancing for me. It's like we have a program here in Washington now where you can actually go public hunt fields. Like the state is now leasing their own land from farmers, like what us guides are doing. So now there's another person we got to compete with is the state.
You'll never win against them.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, sometimes their offer is not that great,
right? And
the guy will make more money from us. And but like I said, there's opportunities like that, but people just don't take advantage of them. And so you see a lot of public hunting fields that don't even get hunted just because it's kind of a fucked up system. They make you reserve it long before the season, right? So you have no idea of knowing if there's birds there. You don't even know if the crop's even harvested, dude. There's so many fields in November out here that are cornfields that could be hunted and they're not combined.
You have to reserve it before the season even starts for a particular day?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's like drawing a big game hunting tag. Right. It's like, hey, you got your shit by May 1st or whatever, and then we'll draw, and that's kind of what happens out here, just because there's so many people that want to hunt, but there's not enough spots. And so kind of how things have turned out here.
That's crazy. That's crazy that you got a certain day. Like, this is the day you're going to be on it, motherfucker. Hope they're there.
Yeah. Well, and here's the deal. So it's only 4 people. Mm-hmm. You have to walk in and you have to write down all the birds you harvest, and you got to freaking sign in and out. But if you're not at that field by 8:00 in the morning, it's walk-in hunting at that point to the first 4 people that want to go hunt it.
Ooh.
So it's a risky ball game. So like in my mind, if I was a freelancer, I would not fucking lease out any of, or like, you know, do that whole program. I would drive over here on a Friday and I would just go find all that property. And then I would just sit there in the next morning and just wait till 8:00 in the morning with my 3 buddies. If no one freaking showed up, boom, we're out.
Yeah.
You know,
that would seem like the more logical way of doing it. Like, why back yourself into a corner of only being able to hunt this day when you can just wait till 8:00? If nobody's there, roll out. You're good to go. I wonder how many issues that causes, though, the 8:00 deal. Because, you know, like somebody's fucking missed an alarm, like hauling ass to the field, gets there at, you know, fucking 8:02.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty black and white. But like I said, not a lot of people really take advantage of that program out here, which kind of pisses me off because it fucks over some of the guides, because like the fields that we could be leasing are getting leased to the state, and then we can't guide on them. That's another shitty thing. When they go into that program, you can't guide on them.
Right.
So even if they're on there and no one's hunting it, I can't take me and 3 clients out there, which sucks. But
so it's not one of those deals where the farmer enrolls in this program, and that's the program it's in for that season.
Yes.
All season long.
And all season, the whole season. And the farmer signs a contract basically that states like they're only allowed to do certain things to their field. Like they might not be able to disc it. They can only thrash it, or they can disc it once, or they have to leave an acre of standing corn or something, and they get to decide their own lease fees, and it's just a crazy deal.
So what did you said a while back the game warden harassed you when you first started? What was he doing?
Okay, so the reason why this whole thing started was because there was a local guy out here that really wanted to hunt a farm that I had the lease on. All right. And so me and him kind of got into it. And keep in mind, this is back when I was a lot younger. Like I was 19, so I was a punk back then. I thought that I ruled the world, dude. I thought like I was bulletproof. And, I'm out duck hunting with some of my buddies. We went out in the morning on a pond. We shot 6 ducks, I think, between 3 of us. And we're like, okay, cool, whatever. We pick up our birds. We go back to my house. We have lunch. Well, then here in the afternoons, the ducks go to the cornfields every afternoon. Some days they're earlier, some days they're later. It's always a gamble. You never know when they're going to fly. So we're like, fuck it, let's go set up in the field. So we hook up to my goose trailer with all my layouts and the spinners and shit. And we have to use pull string spinners here, or wind spinners. We can't use motorized decoys. Right. Fucking go out there, put out our spread. We still have the 6 ducks at my house. All right, which is fine. I'm like, okay, I'll only shoot 1 or whatever, we'll divvy it out however we're going to divvy it out, whatever. And so needless to say, like, we ended up shooting more birds. We did not over limit. We didn't double limit. We didn't do any bullshit. We literally shot, I think we were still like 4 birds short of our 3-man limit after the afternoon hunt. But like right before shooting lights over, I just see a truck whip into the edge of the field right by our fucking trailers, and I'm like, okay guys, it's game warden guaranteed. Like, who else is gonna be out here at this time? It's fucking game warden. So he rolls out there. About that time, my dad calls me. This is like when cell phones first came out, and so I had a flip phone, and it says dad. I fucking answered it. I'm like, hello. He's like, why is there 2 game wardens at our house right now? I'm like, I don't fucking know. And then about that time, here comes Buddy and this other game warden rolling out to our spread. Well, this fucking local guy had called us in saying that we were double limiting because he saw us hunting this pond in the morning and then saw us go out to the field at night and saw us whack a few ducks. So he calls us in thinking that he's going to get us in trouble and he's going to get this farm. And it fucking worked. It worked. He got the farm because the farmer saw the game wardens come out, and that guy called him and said, oh yeah, you see that? Those guys aren't by the book, so you shouldn't let them hunt. So I was not allowed to hunt that field after that, even though I did nothing wrong. I did not break the law. I had to go back to my house, which fucking sucked because when I get back there, they're now looking at deer horns that are hanging up in my shop, right? They're looking at shit that I shot 5 years ago that I don't have the tag on it anymore. And they're fucking asking me questions about shit that I did 3 years ago. When I was 14 years old, I shot a 36-inch walleye with a bow and arrow when I was carp fishing. Got fucking in trouble for it. All right. They're asking me about that shit. This is 6 years later. They're asking me about that still. And which I got acquitted. I did not get convicted. I will admit I did it, but I did not get convicted. I got it deferred.
You took the NOLO plea? Isn't that what it is? No contest?
NOLO contendere.
I was a good boy after that, and I never did anything like that
again.
Yeah,
but I mean, part of that is like you're fucking 14 years old.
Growing up and learning, man. But so they harassed me, dude. So then 2 months goes by after that first time, okay, and I'm goose hunting with clients. And I run pheasant trips every once in a while too. And so we had went pheasant hunting the day before. Okay, that was like on a Tuesday. We can only hunt geese Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday here. These guys were here Tuesday, Wednesday. So we went pheasant hunting Tuesday on private property so we could use lead. Because that's another thing here. If you're hunting public land, you can't use fucking lead, even if you're hunting upland.
Right.
And so we had lead, like the clients had lead in their car, not fucking on them, not out in the goose field. It was in the car, in the box, in an orange vest. There was still dead pheasants in the vest. Like, we were going to clean everything after we got done goose hunting. Game warden rolls up. He comes out. 2 of my clients don't have their bird stamps on them. They're in their truck. So I'm like, great. Now we got to fucking go back to the trucks. So he makes me open up my trailer, and like some of my blinds are in there stuffed with corn. And like, there's full ears of corn on the blinds. Like, you know, people are grabbing corn stalks, and some of them are just knocked over corn stalks. There's full ears.
Right.
This guy's accusing me of baiting, dude.
Yep.
He's like, "Oh, you're baiting. And I'm like, "No, I'm not. This is a blind. It's in my trailer." So we had to go through the decoys like for an hour, and he's freaking out there grabbing corn kernels and shit, and like trying to measure, you know, a 2x2 foot area to figure out if we're baiting or not. And so, I mean, this went on for like 2 years, and then that guy ended up moving. And then after that, I became friends with another game warden and actually offered to take him on a hunt, and he came out and hunted with us. And ever since then, dude, people know that we're by the book, and you know, putting out video content with Slade Northwest and Pacific Calls, and just, you know, being active and just kind of following the rules now, and just really trying to be by the book. I mean, you know, sometimes you fuck up, but we try to do everything the right way. I mean, I've called duck hunts before because my clients cannot identify a freaking Drake mallard at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with the sun at their back, and they can't even fucking. And, you know, you got 7 clients and you can only shoot 2 hens a person. And I'm like looking at the pile and I'm going, shit, I got a little clicker in my hand. We're at, you know, 8 hens, boys. We can't shoot anymore. I go, if another hen dies, we're done.
Right.
And another fucking hen dies and I call the hunt, you know? I mean, that's part of being by the book and doing the right thing, right? So
Well, yeah.
now we get harassed.
Yeah, I mean, you got to, if you're going to be out in the public eye like you are, and run an outfit and be legitimate, like you gotta play that straight and narrow game, because otherwise, you know, that's how you get a bad name in this industry, is you start cheating and you start fucking around. And if people start associating you with fuckery, then, you know, that's a good way to lose your clientele. And I mean, you know, have the feds up your ass, and that's kind of the last thing that anybody wants.
Everybody on a hunt has got a cell phone now.
Right.
Everybody. So it's instant. I mean,
Which
you
is
just
why I
can't do
broke
that
my
stuff.
fucking Benelli Nova on a crane. It's the exact reason. We were on fucking county road. Now all the cell phones come out. There's a crane looking at me, and my fucking, he's about to chop my dick off. And I mean, what, you know, I can't shoot it because that's going to go on YouTube. Big Honker Podcast, Andy Shaver, wax crane on county road while scouting is what it'll say, or some shit like that. You know, I mean, in the dark. So I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do now? Now, I should have grabbed the rake looking back. Like, there's hindsight being 2020. It's a bitch. But I fucking club it with my gun. Unloaded. Everybody calm down. I unloaded it and fucking snaps in half. But everybody's got a cell phone now. Is that the rule? So like you said, they were trying to measure a 2x2 area of corn. Is that, if it fills that area, is that when it's considered baiting?
I think it depends on how much. Yeah, it's like how much is in that area, and if they're full ears or whatever. Like, I'm not exactly sure what the formula is, but yeah, they do have a formula for how they dictate what's baiting versus non-baiting.
What about a chop field?
So a chop field, I mean, technically, dude, if you look up the federal, that's the thing. It's so shitty. There's different regulations for state versus federal.
Right.
The federal regulations, I'm pretty sure it says you can't hunt 30 days after harvest. You have to wait 30 days.
After harvest? Just period?
Yeah. If someone is in the field harvesting, you cannot hunt that field until like 30 days after.
I've never heard of that before. I heard as long as it's normal farm practices, it was legal.
Hello.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'd have to look it up, but I want to say there's a time period, whether it be 14 days or something along those lines. You could Google it, and I could be totally wrong, but I thought that there was a period of time basically where, like, if they were out there thrashing, you could not hunt until, you know, X amount of days after harvest.
The only thing I've ever heard them say about days, and I could be wrong on this, is if it had bait on it, you had to wait 14 days until the bait's gone to hunt. But I've never heard them say anything about, if it's normal farming practices, it's supposed to be legal to hunt.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I've never had any issues with it out here. It's just something that I've always kind of heard or been was what I thought. But at the same time, I mean, dude, I've hunted half harvested fields where we've literally had our blinds in the standing corn, but we're hunting a field, you know, on the other side. Let's say it's not even the same crop, but we're hiding in the standing corn, you know? And I mean, I think if a game warden really wanted to, they could probably come out and try to freaking bust your ass for baiting. if they wanted to go down that rabbit hole, they probably could try to do it.
You're probably right. I didn't find anything about the harvest and having to wait 30 days. I don't know if that's true or not. But
I hope it's
but
not.
I do. Yeah, no shit, right? That is one tricky area. Like if you're, like you said, if you're hunting an unharvested, like standing corn, we don't have a whole lot of that, and we don't hunt standing corn just because we don't have it. But I could see where, like, because I think the regulations on that are like, if you're walking and you're knocking shit off,
yeah, you're baiting.
Technically that's baiting.
Yep. And I don't know, man. Like I said, the way they set all this up, it's kind of like, this is one thing I never really thought about, because you hear a lot of guys like down south, like where you guys are, talking about the feds. Okay. Yep. Up here, there's not a bunch of feds up here, man. I've seen one federal game warden in 10 years. Okay. Most of the game wardens up here are state. We don't really get fucked with by the feds, but I'm not out hunting the refuges either. Right. So like, I'm sure the federal guys are more so hanging out down here at the refuges and the game reserves and shit. That's probably where those guys are at. But, I didn't realize that, like, if you don't have a hunting license and you're on a hunting trip and you put out a decoy, you're technically aiding in the hunt, and you can get cited for freaking hunting without a license, even if you don't shoot. That is a freaking law.
That might be a state law, because I don't think it's that way.
It's not that way in Texas.
In Texas, but it is in Oklahoma. That's a state law. So, like, yeah, like just exactly like you said. So, in Texas, to guide a hunt, if you're not shooting, you don't have to have a license. Oklahoma, just 2 hours north, if you aid, like you said, in any part of the hunt, set out a decoy, flag, call, you got to have a hunting license.
Yeah, and I think it's the same way here, which I never really thought about, right? Because like, I get clients all the time like, hey, can I bring my wife? Mm-hmm. You know, she wants to come help set up and hang out. And I just straight up tell them, like, she can come out, but she literally can't touch any decoys. She can't do shit. She can't go get a wounded bird. She just has to sit there and watch. That's all she can do.
You'd be better off just to tell them to get her a hunting license just to save the damn hassle.
Oh, that's what I tell them all. And especially, we have a program up here where you can actually take a new hunter without them passing hunter safety. And it's called like the deferral program. They got to be with a hunter over 18 years of age or something that's experienced, and they can hunt one full season, and then they have to take hunter's ed.
Yeah, we have that. We have that same thing here.
So I didn't know that you guys have three species of turkey up there.
Yeah, we've got Easterns, Rios, and
I didn't know
Merriams.
that.
And honestly, now the Rios and Merriams have kind of crossbred in some areas, so we just have they're all just mixed around, except for the Easterns.
You're not getting it. And that's what so many people are saying about the Merriams, because I know Josh is up with Blake helping plant and all that stuff. And I said, are you going to go get a Merriam? And he's like, well, where Blake is, it's more of like a mixture of Rios and Merriams. So, like, to get a pure bud Merriam, you got to go up into the mountains. But, yeah, I was talking to Trevor, I don't know, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and he said he was going to try to do the Grand Slam, the state Grand Slam. And I thought, what the fuck? What all you got? Like, we got everything.
Yeah, we got Easterns. But the funny thing is the Easterns are in the western part of the state.
Really?
So, yeah, we don't have Easterns in Eastern Washington. You have to go to Western Washington, which I don't want to go over there. That place is a shithole. I stay as far away from the freaking west side as I can. I mean, that's the thing, dude. You want to talk about other shit, not just hunting. Washington State there's literally a group of idiots right now. And I shouldn't say idiots because I respect what they're trying to do, but they're not thinking about other things. They want to split our state in half and combine us with Eastern Idaho, or with Idaho and Eastern Oregon. And I'm like, that's cool, but we need the fucking ports, guys. Like, that's the whole point of Western Washington. They have the ports. All of our produce, all of our shit goes through the ports.
Well, you're still going to get that.
What do you mean port?
Yeah, but
they're not going to cut you off from food.
No, but we'll have to we're the ones producing it. They'll charge us a way more money or something to fucking go take our shit to port. We'll have to cross state lines at that point.
Yeah, but you'll have more representation. That's why they're wanting to do it. The same with California. They're wanting to secede from regular California. Trust me, we could take all the big cities and make them their own fucking states and make it, and we'd all be better off. But I understand what they're trying to do. But I understand where you're coming from. You're looking at it as the whole of Washington. They're looking at it as y'all aren't being represented anymore because all the population's in fucked up Seattle.
Well, yeah, there's 2 counties in Washington, King County and Pierce County. They got more people in those 2 counties than we have in all of Eastern Washington combined. So we're not being represented at all. And we're the ones out here doing all the farming, growing all the food. All the shit that's making all the money is here. All the industry is in Eastern Washington. I mean, Grant County has the cheapest electricity in the world. We have fucking 5 dams in Grant County.
Mm-hmm.
You don't pay for fucking electricity here. It is cheaper than fucking dirt. And dirt's expensive here. Soil is what's expensive here. You want to buy one field out here, 130-acre circle of irrigated, let's call it cash crop ground, meaning you can grow potatoes and onions, because those are the biggest money makers. That shit is going to be $1.5 million for 130 acres.
So $10,000 an acre?
I was going to say that.
Or it's probably $15,000 an acre.
Whew.
So that'd be 1.95 then.
I was going to say that too.
Yep.
Yeah, I know you were. We know we got your math skills off the last podcast. The problem, what you're talking about, is something that's affecting the whole United States and the Midwest. I mean, the grain belt produces all the food for America. You go to California, you get into the San Joaquin Valley. They produce all the vegetables and stuff. All those places are red places. They're conservatives. They're farmers. They're ranchers and everything. The beef, cattle industry. But we got all the fucking welfare hubs, and that's where all the votes are coming from. And so,
yep.
There's a big
the ones that aren't being manufactured.
There's a big push in Texas. They think to secede. We can't secede. Right. What they don't realize is back the original paperwork we had was Texas could separate into 5 different states. Could you imagine that? Well, they'd hate that shit getting 10 more senators, conservative senators. But none of that's ever going to happen. But we've got some real trying times for our country, and I understand where the frustration is, because I get frustrated with the same thing, because it's just a matter of time. Fucking Austin, Texas, and that area down there overtakes us.
We'll be blue.
We'll be a blue state probably until 2 presidential elections.
2028 probably will be.
We're just getting out. We're getting out fucked by the other people.
Well, these people come, right? Like, there's tons of people moving from Washington to fucking Texas, okay? But they take their bullshit policies with them. Like, you guys are leaving areas that you made into this, and then you want to go to these areas where we have free regulations and we tote our guns around and we fucking, do whatever we want out here. But then you guys want to come vote like you were back in California or like you were in Western Washington. And then they wonder why, we don't want them here, or why people from Texas don't want people from Washington there. Well, that's fucking why, you know? Like, if you go to Texas, you got to vote like fucking Texas.
If we could take a vote to secede, which we couldn't, I think it would pass overhand. Don't you, Andy?
I wouldn't vote.
You wouldn't vote for it? Fuck, I would in a heartbeat.
Because you're on an island.
What kind of island are we?
You're on an island. You don't think? I mean,
I'm waiting for you to give me a point.
Do you think that the state of Texas could handle an invasion from America?
America's not going to. They're going to be our ally.
You don't fucking
they
know
do.
that.
We got too much natural resources. They're
you
not
don't
gonna
know that.
When's the last time the United States of America just went and attacked somebody? We don't have the fucking balls in Washington, D.C. do that shit. We ain't go attack nobody.
What if the Mexicans try to come up?
Fucking United States don't want Mexico taking us over.
We've already fucking lost that war once.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, the Republic of Texas would be strong. We'd have people wanting to come here because they'd want to live here for all of our freedoms. We would be.
We can't even, fucking ERCOT's a fucking debacle. We can't even get our own power grid here up and running.
That's because it's ran by a bunch of fuckers on the East Coast.
It's
I don't want to argue with you about this.
It's still the same thing.
I don't argue with you about this.
We would be on an island.
I would vote for seceding. Andy's goofy fucking ass would want to stay where we're at.
We can't even get a fucking power grid in Texas on our own that works for shit.
We're not ran by Texas right now. It don't matter. It ain't happening anyways.
It got up to 80 degrees the other day, and they said that ERCOT was almost out of power again.
I saw that.
So what the fuck? You want to go off by yourself and get everything? Fuck that.
We could turn the nuclear power plants on and we'd be fine again.
See what you started?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm sorry.
We ain't argued in about 12 hours, so it does us some good. The last podcast we didn't even get to argue on, so this is a good argument for us.
Yeah, no, I mean, I find myself nowadays, like, if I'm not hunting, like, for right now, so it's farming season, but I go fishing. I bass fish. Yeah. Like, I bass fish like a motherfucker. I got a 19.5 or I guess 19.9 Phoenix, brand new. Just bought the motherfucker. Goes like 77 miles an hour, which is pretty fucking fast. But that's where you'll find me. That's why I was flipping Trevor some shit on a big Honker post. He was talking about fishing. And I'm like, you don't fucking fish, dude. I've got on my boat so many times, and it's like, it's impossible, dude. I'm convinced he's like a fucking cat, dog. He just does not want to be in the water, like, period. He does not want to be around it. He doesn't want anything to do with it. That makes no sense to me, man. I grew up in Eastern Washington. It's like, we find a water hole, that's where we're going to be. Like, it's a desert out here. So,
That that is true.
bass fishing in Texas, that's one thing I want to do. I want to get down there. They just had a huge tournament on Lake Fork. I want to go fish that lake so fucking bad.
Well, it's east of here, and you can get down there and fish. They got a lot of people from other states down here fishing. So, but I think the time to be here is now. February, March, I think is the best fishing there, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's when they're spawning. That's the Bassmasters just had a huge tournament there. But no, hopefully this next year when things kind of slow down for us, I know me and Trevor talked about, he went to Texas this year, but I'd like to get down there and go and hang out with you guys and just go on a hunt and do the whole thing. I've never killed a crane. That's one thing I'd like to do. And just, I think it'd be cool just to go down there and hunt. But yeah, up here, like we were talking about earlier with just different styles. I mean, I don't run huge spreads, man. I got a 7x14 trailer, and we've got 4 pit blinds, and we've got a shitload of layouts and panels. But realistically, we run a lot of Dave Smith decoys, and we run a lot of stuffers. And we have a deal with Tangle Free right now, and they work good for what they are. They don't have the best motion. I would say it's probably the worst motion.
That clicking sound is back. There you go. Now it's gone. Okay.
Sounds like that show with with Guy Allen off of Hangover, where he's masturbating in the front seat.
My cousin caught I'm trying to find out how big this fucker was. He was in a bass fishing tournament.
8.4, I think.
8.4 was what it was?
I think what it was. Hey, do y'all know, does it not get windy up there?
Oh, it's windy all the time.
How the fuck do you run them panel blinds in? Them fuckers will sail on you in a heartbeat.
Dude, I get it's not as windy during that time of year, but when we're running panel blinds, I mean, I've started just strapping them together and shit. I mean, they came up with those little frames or whatever, but I don't even use those things. I just pretty much have some bungee cords, and I'll just bungee the rods inside, kind of like across, almost like dividers, like what their little stability rods are supposed to be. But the nice thing about the bungees is if the lids want to like fly down, you can just bungee them shut. And then when it's go time, you just freaking hit the bungee and they fly open and you start shooting. But there's actually a video that we did last year with Slade Northwest called Into the Sun. And like at the start of that video, we're hunting standing corn out panel blinds. And if you actually watch on the first go, my lid freaking goes down. And then I say, take them. And I only said take them because the lid fucking came down. I was going to wait on that flock like another 10 seconds. And I mean, we shot 3 flocks and shot 30 birds that morning. And so, I mean, it was freaking insane. But that's what's cool about this area is, like, we're shooting big geese, we're shooting little geese, we're shooting in-betweeners. And there's no bullshit in Eastern Washington. You don't have to do an identification course. You go over to Western Washington in a certain county, and you have to take a fucking class. And then you can't shoot certain birds, and you got to freaking know how to pick them out. And over here, it's like, fuck, dude, if it comes in the spread, as long as it's not... as long as it's not like we're over hen mallards or whatever. I mean, if it's a fucking goose, it's getting shot.
You're whacking it.
I mean, if it's October to January, it's getting fucking killed. And, this year they made it different with snows now, which kind of pissed me off. We can't shoot snows the first 3 weeks of our season because they gave us a late season, and everyone wants to call it a conservation season, but it's not a conservation season. I don't think these guys understand what that term means. To me, a conservation season is like, no fucking limits, no plugs, lead shells, e-collars, all that shit. That's conservation. That's just trying to kill birds. Right. Our season is the same fucking rules. 3 shells. You have to use no e-collars. You can't use electronic decoys. No fucking flappers. None of that bullshit. They just let us hunt in February.
Yeah.
So it's no different. It's just later in the season. And it sucks because right now, all the fucking geese, all the snows are here at the end of September till the end of October. And then, like, right when it opens up, they fucking dip down south. And they'll be, like, in one of our southern areas, And it's like, I don't want to drive all the way down there when we got Great Canada hunting up north still. But we end up missing them. And then in the late season, they open it in February, and they're here for, like, a week. But we always get shit on with a last-minute snowstorm in February. Like, everyone's like, oh, winter's over. Farmers start taking shit out of the fields. I mean, I was a farmer. I know. In February, we would be trying to plant potatoes some years, and it'd fucking just pour snow. And so that's what happened this year, man. I had a great feed. It was opening day. There was no fucking snow, dude. I had a freshly disked cornfield. And there was 5 to 10,000 snows in that fucker. And I was like, oh, we got good wind tomorrow. We're going to go do the Texas thing. We're going to hide in the fucking socks. Everyone was stoked. We got white suits on. We're going to fucking do it. Put out all of our flapper decoys. Like, they're going to work great in the wind. Wake up at 2:30 the next morning to go out there and start putting out all the shit. Because I have a huge spread. I mean, between Trevor and I, we have like 300 full bodies or more, and then probably like 4,000 or 5,000 socks. And then that's not even counting all the silhouettes and shit. I mean, we've got a big spread. And so I'm like, let's get out there and start doing it. Literally, as we're going, it's fucking boom. Here comes this blizzard. And I'm talking like it snowed 1.5 feet in less than 24 hours on us while we were setting it.
Fuck that.
Dude, the socks were full of snow. The fucking it was miserable. We got 2 bucks to come in and we shot 6 birds, and that was it. And I didn't even go after that this year for like two or 3 times that I could have gone. I didn't go. The weather was fucked.
Yeah.
Literally right now, I'm sitting on this farm. So like I'm literally sitting on a farm right here talking to you guys because I got guys planting potatoes behind me. But this morning I watched 50,000 fly over me. They're still here. They're still here, and they are not fucking leaving. And I don't get it. This is the latest I've ever seen them here, and I would not be surprised if some of these birds don't leave here.
Right. Yeah. See, it seems to me if you were going to do a conservation season and call it a conservation season, like you said, there shouldn't be any rules. It shouldn't be 3 shells. If it's going to be a conservation season, then the fucking name of the game is to get rid of them.
Yeah, the name of the game is to eradicate them. Why would they limit us,
right. So y'all got fucked on a couple of those things. And then like the speckle belly thing, like everybody we've talked to from Washington has been like, yeah, it's fucked. Specks are here, season's closed. As soon as they leave, season opens.
I would be in favor of lowering our limit. Like, I fucking hate that it's 4 birds. It sucks. If it was 3, we would limit every time. Like, I'm not fucking shitting you. Every time. There's so many goddamn hunts where we're waiting on 1 fucking bird. or we're waiting on 1 flock. We need 3 more. Stupid. And it's like, that's where you get yourself into trouble because you only need 3 and you got 5 clients and they all fucking pull up. And what are the chances they're going to drop 3, right? They're going to probably drop 5 or 6. Yeah. And so that's just where experience comes in. And, I'm really, really glad to have the crew that I have. I've been doing it here since 2010, 2011. So we're going on 10 years. I freaking so awesome. Congratulations. Like, that's something that like hard. I don't know about you guys, but like right now, I could really go for a good goose hunt. But by January 31st, all I'm thinking about is bathroom. I'm like, fuck this. I am so over this bullshit. Like, I'm ready to go. But
you're breaking up a little bit. What'd you say?
Well, I said then you have a good hunt and everything changes again, and you feel like you're back in the game. But just there's always a couple weeks at the end of the season where everyone's at everyone's throats, and you got to power through it. And I'm really happy to have the crew that I have. I mean, from the connections we've made, like with having Pacific Calls with us, I'm not a part of Pacific Calls per se. Like, I don't own any of Pacific Calls, like, as far as the company, but I've been with them literally since day one. I mean, I've sold calls with Trevor. We've went to shows, and I feel like I'm a part of the company, even though I don't have any stake in the Pacific Calls game. But I can tell you, most of our films, those are all off of our property here in Moses Lake, and so it's really good because that's what I think friendship should be. I might be able to find a better goose call, let's say, or someone might be making one that fits better to my style. I'm not going to, dude, Trevor's my best friend. He's one of my greatest buddies. I'm going to use his product, even if it's more money. My one buddy, he does concrete. Fuck, dude. If I got something that needs to be poured and I know he does, maybe more than the next guy, I'm still calling that motherfucker. He's my friend. That's what people need to do. And unfortunately, that's the problem with the United States is everyone just wants the lowest fucking bid. Everyone just wants to it. And, people are willing to burn bridges with their friends over a fucking dollar. And it just, I don't know. That's kind of how waterfowling is too, man. I've lost some friends because, they don't understand like that this is a business and this isn't just a free for all anymore. Yeah. And so
that's the tough thing. And I know Jeff's talked about it a lot is whenever those first couple of years, you got a lot of friends. And then when it becomes a legitimate business, and I mean, you got to start you can't do it for free. You might be able to bring, your buddy and his kid out every once in a while, but like the times of just coming out here to the lodge and hanging out on a long weekend and just kind of having free reign, those days are over. And I mean it. And I know Jeff, he can talk more about it, but it's just something that you have to do if you're going to be a legitimate business person.
You got to cut the ties. I mean, I have buddies of mine that are in a car dealership. They don't give me a free car. I don't just go to their office and hang out with them all the time. And I've got a lot of buddies that come out and hang out, and I don't mind it. I've had a lot of them. I enjoy them scouting with me and stuff, but it's a business, and, I don't expect them to give me free stuff at their deal, and this is what it is. And when I first went through that, I had some buddies of mine that, they were all about coming to see good old Jeff during hunting season, but if it was summertime and we were going to do something, I needed some help, then they weren't going to help do nothing, and I kind of got rid of most of them. And
that's
part of life.
Yep. And that it carries over into other parts of life too, like you're saying. I mean, it's not just the hunting thing. You come to find out, this is something as simple as the other day I had to go to Spokane, take one of my really good duck dog. I just found out he's got a melanoma on his eye, which I did not know that was a thing in labs, that they get melanoma on their eyes. And so sucks because he's only 8 years old and he's a badass dog. His name's Franklin, and he's just a good chocolate lab, really good family dog. He's really good with my daughter. And so, feel like I got to kind of save his life. So I take him in there to get this shit done. Well, as that happens, I get a flat tire on my truck. I'm in the middle of downtown Spokane. I can't get any fucking help. So who do I call? Trevor Austin. Fucking comes and picks me up, takes me to the shop, buys me lunch, I mean, it's good to have friends like that, right? But how many of your friends can you call at that time, right? And will actually do that, So it's nice to have that relationship and build those bonds. But yeah, man, Washington State, very, very well known to certain people, but not well known, like we were talking about, in the public eye. I just feel like
I think
not a lot of people realize what we have out here.
Well, trust me, when this podcast comes out, you're probably going to get you're probably going to get the feds to book a hunt with you. You've just opened that door for them, so.
Kill lots of birds. We'd kill a limit every day if it was 3.
I'm fixing to get off here and go chase tornadoes is what I'm fixing to do.
We got naders on the ground pretty close by. So Jeff's fucking, he's got a heart on. I can see it over there.
Tell everybody where to get hold of you at.
So you guys can call me at 509-750-0140. My name's Austin Sandmann. You can also look us up on Instagram or Facebook. Just Honkstomper Guide Service. The email is honk.stomper. You got to make sure you have that dot in there at gmail.com. You can get a hold of Trevor Austin at Pacific Calls, and he also does booking for us too. And, check out our videos on Slade Northwest and, be looking for some new content there. And, if you get a chance to come out here to Washington, book with us, book with another reputable guide would be my recommendation. And you can get online. There's several of them that are really good. There's a handful that are better than the others. And, I strongly recommend coming out here and crossing it off the bucket list. It's a special place, and it's only going to get better, like we talked about. I think 10 years from now, this place is going to be, kind of like South Dakota is for pheasants. That's what Washington State's going to be for waterfowl. So it's really cool to be a part of that.
Well, we appreciate you being on here. We wish you the best of luck, and I'm hoping I get to come out there in October and do some hunting with you.
Awesome. I look forward to it, and let me know. We'll get a place for you guys to stay. Unfortunately, we don't have a lodge yet. Just logistically out here with the 3 days a week type deal doesn't really work for us, but we will. We're trying to get something in the works, whether it be a couple campers or some mini homes. So that's something to look forward to for us, and eventually that's our goal, is to get a lodge. But come out. We'll put you guys in our own homes and take you boys out. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
I wouldn't be asking Andy to stay at my house, but that's a personal deal.
I am like a hamster. Like everything's fucking clean and everything's neat and tidy.
Okay, I wouldn't ask Blake to come stay at my house.
Blake, no, me. Listen,
well, Austin, we appreciate it.
I'm a neurotic hamster.
You have a good day, bud. All right, and good luck.
All right, you guys be safe out there.
Austin Sandmann.
Fed's gonna be booking a hunt with him on Wednesday, probably.
I don't know. I wonder how much of that they even do anymore.
Oh, I'm sure they do a lot of it still.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean,
the sting operation.
I'm sure they do all the time for people that deserve to have them on them.
I can't believe you think Texas would do well seceding.
I do. I really do. I think it would be great for the country, for us.
I don't.
And I think Oklahoma and Kansas and North Dakota and South Dakota and a lot of places go with us. We got some big problems in our country right now, and people in the middle are tired of fucking having to pay the bills for all the losers. Those people make a lot of money that live in those blue cities. And they're like, well, we pay all the taxes. Yeah, and all the money's spent right there in your fucking backyard.
Right.
With all them fucking losers.
What are these naders doing there, Hefe?
Oh, it's just there was a tornado on the ground west of here. They're kind of moving this way.
They're moving. They're moving.
Yeah, we're gonna get.
So is it going to fuck up my turkey hunt?
Right now it looks like right north of Guthrie. It's going to go to Guthrie to Kroll. Well, Kroll's getting hammered lately. But I don't know. I'm waiting to see what we're going to do about this softball game before I make a decision if I go anywhere.
Oh.
That's the only thing that's holding me back from being in Kroll in about 15, 20 minutes.
That's what it's going to hit, huh?
Right now it's going towards Kroll. Kroll to Vernon probably.
Oh, no.
And it's early right now. It's 3 o'clock. So,
Phew.
All right, let's get off here. God bless y'all. Y'all have a great week. Have another one out. Coyote Man Clay Reed be coming out on Friday.
Sorry for the wait. Go check out all of our sponsors. Check out Bangtail Whiskey. Check out Blind Grass. Check out Boss Shot Shells, Dirty Duck Coffee, Lucky Duck, Looking Glass Duck Club, Dive Bomb Industries, Pacific Calls. Go give Trevor Austin a shout. Gun Dog Outdoors, Goose Creek Retrievers, and Stanfield Hunting Outfitters.